welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today, January 2nd, 2018, I'm very pleased to be able to be one of the few in this country to show you the brand new Glock 19X pistol. I am extremely excited about this pistol. Those of you who are familiar with the XM17 program, there was two handguns. There was the SIG P320 and the Glock modular handgun system that were supposedly competing against each other. Well, what you see here is basically the exact Glock gun minus the manual safety. Glock decided not to go with manual safety because it's not needed. That was strictly put on there because of a U.S. Requirement. But other than that, this is the exact pistol. First off, I want to address the modular handgun program. I had done a video a while back. It was called The Failure of the XM17 Program, because I still to this day believe it was a failure, that it failed to give the U.S. soldier the proper or the best firearm because they didn't test it. And that is not on SIG or on Glock. It had nothing to do with either one of them. It had the fact that the Army did not complete the testing on the pistol, which they didn't. They completed a Phase 1, which was it took the 10 or 12 pistols and brought them down to 2 finalists. And from there, you would go to the Phase 2 testing, which would have been the actual military trials, where you would fire the 22,500. You would go through all the environmental testing, the hot, cold, sand, snow, salt water. You could do destruction testing to see, how long the pistol would last, what parts were to go first. And then you would, normally, with any other firearm, after you completed that, you would have either a winner and a loser, or if you had two that were equal, you would then go to competitive bidding. But you don't take them from the down select of taking them down from 12 pistols down to 2. You don't go based off solely of price, which is what happened with the SIG P320. They did not know which pistol was better because they didn't test it. They just made a decision without knowing which was the better pistol, and we've still had some issues today going on. But with that being said, I had a lot of people on there try to tell me that Glock lost because it did not meet the modular. Those of you who are saying that have no idea what you were talking about. You have not read the documents. Both pistols, SIG used a 2-pistol option, and Glock used a 1-pistol option to settle both requirements. For instance, SIG took the full size and a compact. 2 pistols, regardless of the fact that you can take the trigger chassis out and replace it with a different frame, you still have 2 different size pistols. Glock, by utilizing a Glock 17 frame, which would accept a 17-shot magazine, and they were also tested with 19-round magazines, so you could have 19 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. Then you also had a slimmer profile Model 17 magazine that would go in there and it would not stick out. So Glock was able to take in 1 pistol all the requirements and meet, whereas SIG took 2. 2 different ways to get into the same place. But for those of you who want to continue saying that Glock did not meet the modular handgun program, that is wrong. Both pistols met. That's why they were the final 2. If they did not, they would have been knocked out. Either one of them would have been knocked out. There was no requirement for removable chassis in the M17 program. That was just the way that it was delivered. And as I said, I argue with many of you on that forum over this specific point. But both pistols met this criteria. So let's talk about the Model 19X. 19X goes for crossroads, which means you're taking the best of the Gen 5 with some additional things that you're doing in the XM17, and you're giving really an ideal pistol. I have to say, of any Glock I have ever shot, and I own many of them, this is perhaps the finest one I've ever seen. There has been many changes to these. A lot of you guys who've seen my videos on the Gen 5 Glock, many of you were saying they were the same gun. They are not the same gun. In fact, I don't believe there's any parts other than the magazine release, possibly, that is interchangeable between a Gen 4 and a Gen 5. The entire trigger mechanism, the housings have been redesigned. Everything has been redone on them. They're not the same gun. Unfortunately, you can't keep everybody happy. Some people wanted to have the front serrations on them. Some didn't. Some wanted the finger grip. Some didn't. You can't make everybody happy. So you try to do the best that you can with the information that you have. But this pistol has a lot of firsts on it. First off, the burnt bronze color, or the coyote tan, which was part of the XM17 requirement. This finish is done at Glock USA. Just recently, about 3 weeks or so ago, me and about 10 or 12 other people from the media were invited to Glock for what they call the Glock Summit, is where we get to see their new products. We get to fire their new products. We get to talk to the management. We get to talk to the armorers, manufacturers, and we get to handle these guns. And we have to sign non-disclosure agreements stating that we will not reveal these until Glock has, in fact, made their official announcement. For instance, here we are at the end of December. I've been testing this gun for a couple days now. We can't talk about it until January 2nd, so that's why this is going up January 2nd. But we've had time to run these things through the gamut. I've got over 1,000 rounds for this pistol, and extremely happy about it, to say the least. At Glock, I learned quite a bit at Glock this time. This is the first time I've ever been to the Glock factory. I've been down to other summits. It was in their professional building, but never actually been through the factory. Glock has a whole complex of several buildings throughout Highlands Parkway, where they have a manufacturing, they have a corporate headquarters, they have a training center, they have various. I was very surprised to see what happened when I went into the factory and learned what actually happens there. First off, the fact that Glock manufactures every single component in-house, either in Austria or in the U.S. All the tools that are made, all the molds, everything, all the heat treating, everything is done in-house. If you look at the difference between Glock USA and Glock Austria, Glock USA has about 25% of the production capability of Glock Austria. The only components that are manufactured in the USA are frames, slides, and barrels. All of those machines have come from Austria. All of those machines are set up by Austrians. All the programmings are the same CNC machines that are used in Austria. In fact, the machines run on European current. They are all the exact same machines that are used in Austria. So when you would ask, is there a difference in the quality between Glock USA and Glock Austria, the answer is no. Everything is the exact same. There are no materials bought here in the USA. All of the polymers, steels, everything is all shipped in from Austria, from the Glock factory in Austria. So there's no materials that are bought here in the U.S. They all go through their quality control and everything in Austria before they're shipped here to the U.S. So that's the degree of quality they have. And the reason they have that degree of quality is because they have 100% hands-on every aspect of the process of manufacturing. So that was very, very interesting. Now, getting back to this pistol here, the solution that Glock gave to the XM17 was taking a frame off of a Glock 17, cutting it down, and then making a Glock 19 slide. Now, if you also notice, you have a lanyard ring on here. You also will notice that we do have the removable back straps. This was part of your modularity, being able to adjust to the size of one's hands. Now, this was available so you could, the individual could do this without having to have an armor. There was no way that removing the back panel would cause any issues with reliability, so this could have been done at the user level. This pistol was tested with several magazines. We had the standard Glock magazines, no problem. Then we had the ETS magazines. I had no issues with those whatsoever. And then the next one was the Magpul PMag, and no problems with that either. The only catch is with the Gen 5, if you look at the floor plate on the Gen 5, you have a rounded profile to it, make it a little more comfortable. Due to the fact you have a lip on here, you cannot use the Gen 5 magazines in here. So any magazine other than Gen 5 can be used in this pistol. You will notice that you don't have any finger grooves here. You do have Glock night sights on here. Now the barrel is what's called Glock's marksmanship barrel. Now you're going to see a diagram of that where you're going to see there's some additional engraving that's on that rifling, and also the rifling sits back further, and it is hexagonal. But let's get something straight with hexagonal. Many people, when the Glock Gen 5s first came out, said because it's hexagonal, you can fire lead bullets. No, you cannot. The manufacturing process of this barrel is still the same. It's a hammer-forged, shallow rifling. It's the exact same. There's a difference in the mandrel, the way that it imparts the lands and grooves that are inside of that barrel, but it is not a conventional cut, land, and groove that cuts into the barrel. So you are still not able to use any lead in these due to the fact that it's still the shallow rifling. The other thing you're going to notice is you have a muzzle crown here that increases accuracy. Also, if the pistol is dropped, you're not going to be damaging the crown. Now, you also have a Gen 5 slide. You have the Gen 4 type trigger spring. This is not compatible. When looking at the slides, right here you see the tan of the G19X, which is also basically a Gen 5, and then you have a Gen 4. You can see the difference in the firing pin safety here. You can definitely see some differences in the way that there's some things cut in here as well. Those are some of the improvements that were made to the slide. Now looking at the barrels, you can see where you see 5, it means Gen 5, it means the new rifling, where you have the standard, we'll just say 9x19. These are both Austrian-made barrels, so you will see the proof marks. So you will see the proof marks as well. The Gen 4s have them on the side. The Gen 5s have them on top. But we want to take a look at the frames because, again, a lot of you guys who had made comments in the other video that the Gen 5 was just the same old pistol. Absolutely not. You take a look in here. First off, we have our ambidextrous slide stop. That's been redesigned. If you also look at the trigger housing, totally redesigned. The cruciform has been redesigned, and also the way you utilize a spring that's connected to the rear here. This has been redesigned in the front as well, which increases the, well, actually makes the trigger feel a hell of a lot nicer than anything before. You also look in the front, they've gotten rid of this leaf spring for a coil spring. None of the components from here to here are backwards compatible. This is a whole new trigger mechanism, not compatible with any components that you see here. This has been totally redesigned. And what you see here is basically the M5 design, or the Gen 5 design. But you will see there's a difference in finish between some of these components here. The finish on here was the military XM finish they use on the XM17, which that may actually contribute to somewhat of the nicer trigger pull that you see on this versus any other Glock pistol I've ever fired. But again, as you can see, this is totally changed. The ambidextrous feature, I do like this quite a bit, having the ambidextrous slide stop, but everything else here has been redone. Looking here, this is exactly what came with the XM17 pistol. You had 2 of the 19-shot magazines and 1 of the 17, and they were all in the Coyote Tana is looked at. And I have to say, the trigger on here, you know, I guess it's one of those things you're just going to have to feel it for yourself. You feel how smooth it is on the take-up. And as you're going to see on the videos from when I'm shooting, I get them off really, really quick, really, really accurate. There's definitely been a major improvement to the trigger, especially on this pistol here. I do believe the 19X is going to put a new standard for Glock, especially Glock. They have made a lot of changes to this pistol, and they've made the best even better. Now, should this have been the M17 pistol? Well, I can't say yes and I can't say no, because all I've been saying, you know, right along was not whether you're a Glock fanboy or a SIG fanboy. It was what works fanboy. The military should have completed their test, competed the 2 pistols together, and see who came out the winner. And if only one stood out, then we have a winner. If both of them failed, we have 2 failures. If we have both of them win, now we'll go to the competitive bidding and go that way. But at least we know that our soldiers were getting the best pistol. I have several thousand rounds out of the SIG P320. I've only got about 1,000 or 1,500 or so out of this. We were fortunately, when we were in Glock, we were able to go to the Glock range and we were able to test fire the pistols. I probably put over 500 rounds through this pistol at the Glock range. I just really, really enjoyed it. People shot them. They shot them incredible. And I imagine that day that I was there with all of us that were there, there's probably an easy 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 rounds that were fired through probably 5 pistols, and there was not one single malfunction with any of it. And that was a combination of, if I recall, it was a Aguila ammunition, and there was some American Eagle, I think, there too. So there's a couple different kinds of ammunition that was used as well. So the reliability is typical. I mean, that's not anything special to the 19X. We see that every time I go to Glock and we have a shooting class there. We don't see malfunctions. We use proper ammunition, and then the guns are properly maintained. There's no issues with them whatsoever as far as malfunctions. But this pistol will be available on the 22nd. It'll make its debut at SHOT Show, and they should be on the shelves. They are going to be shipped, so they will be in the shelves, I think, on the 22nd for you to be able to purchase. I think what we're going to do now is we're going to take this one to the range. First, we're going to go to the range at Glock, where I was at Glock Perfection at their training facility in Georgia, and we're going to put a few mags through it. And then after that, we're going to take it out to my range here in Texas, and we're going to put some magazines through it as well. As you saw, the pistol worked flawlessly. The accuracy was excellent. Glock claims that there's increased accuracy with the new barrel. I'm sure that there is. My hands aren't steady enough to be able to show much of a difference between the two. I imagine if you put the pistols in a bench, you probably would see a much more of a difference. But all I can say was wherever I put those sights, the bullet went accurate as hell. I mean, 20 shots in a handgun. This trigger really stood out, even from the Gen 5 trigger that I did a video on recently with the release of the Gen 5. This trigger was different. It's different than any of the Gen 5 triggers that I've come across. So it's excellent. I imagine there's going to be a big demand for this pistol because of its involvement in the MHS program. So I was very glad to hear it was actually Glock Austria, that made the announcement that they were going to be making a commercial version of the MHS. Now, they didn't say it was going to be exact or what it was. They were saying they were going to make a commercial version. And I'm certainly good with not having a manual safety on there. I have no use for a manual safety on there. I'm sure there will be those who will complain because they wanted it the exact same way that it was submitted. But for me, I would just assume not have that safety on because I'm not going to use it, to be perfectly honest with you. You know, it does have all the requirements of the Gen 5, with this being cut out here, so you have a little bit more comfortable when you're shooting with that cutout that's right there. But I do really like the full size frame with that compact slide. You know, with my hands being as big as they are, it just fits me perfect. Now the Glock 19, this is probably one of the most popular handguns in the world for concealed carry, for even duty use, with still having 15 rounds. There could certainly be some competition between these two as time goes on. But I think that the Glock G19X is going to be a major seller, and I'm very glad to see that they came out with it. And I intend on purchasing this one, and I intend on doing a lot more with it in the weeks and the months to come, for as far as more rounds through it, testing with more ammunition. You know, this pistol's had over 1,000 rounds out of it just the other day. That was a combination of Black Hills 115 grain OTM. I had some SIG V-Crown ammunition there. I had some Gold Dot, and I think I had some HST. Everything that was put through it was flawless. You know, Glocks are not known to be finicky on ammunition whatsoever, but it's everything that you would expect it to be. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave me a comment. I'll try and get back to you. If you enjoyed this video, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share. Thank you.